I know that Peter just initially said that if anyone does have any questions, obviously to wait at the end, but if anyone is, unsure of something at the point of where I'm training, I don't notice the hands raises. I don't notice the chats usually. So if Peter picks them up, perfect. If not, guys, just feel free to unmute yourself at that point. It's not a problem. So I have just started recording and I have just literally started sharing the screens. Hopefully you guys can now see that.
Yeah, that's great.
And what I'll initially do first, so I'll go through the sort of company reports with you guys and explain the monitoring. And then from there, I'll go into the sort of consumer side and go through the consumer reports and also the anti-money laundering checks. Now, with the company reports, Peter, initially, are you going to be monitoring all of the companies going forward?
We will be monitoring certain aspects. So yeah, it will be useful for us. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So what you guys can do on the left-hand side under the credit and risk tab, what that will do is it'll open the monitoring. To start with, unless anyone's actually turned it on already, it'll have an automatic monitoring. So that automatic monitoring slider will be kind of turned off at the moment. And what this just means is that whenever you then view a company report, if you wanted to then add them into the monitoring, you'd have to click a button yourself to add them. So let me just show you what I mean a moment. If I just use your company a second as the example, so just ignore me a moment.
Brilliant. I think we've got a raised hand. We've got Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Andrew, I don't know if you're on mute.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi. Sorry to jump in so early. Just whilst it occurred to me, on monitoring, I'm still getting monitoring reports through on the old Creditsafe login, and I'm just wondering if there's a way of disabling that or transferring the monitoring onto the new login.
What we'll do at the end is if you want to send me across all the details regarding that on an email, and then we can have a little look at it, because initially we can't delete anything. It would just be the case you'd have to go in and just obviously deactivate something like that. But if you want to send all the details at the end of obviously the old login and things like that, we'll have a little look at it from our side for you. That's not a problem.
Will do. Okay, thanks, Kirsty.
All right.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
That's no problem. Okie doke. So yeah, with the monitoring, so if you have this button turned off, like I said, whenever you then view a company report, if you did want to add the company into monitoring, you would just initially have to click this little button, go into a portfolio that will be sort of created as a default for you to start with, and then you can add in like any references or any kind of notes regarding those, and then just literally click that little button, and that will then get added into monitoring. So that's kind of a manual way. The other option, so let me remove it a moment, is if you have this button turned on, whenever you view a company report, so I'll refresh the page, it will add the company straight into monitoring for you without you having to select anything. All right, so you've got the option for both if you want. That's absolutely fine. But just be aware that if you do have it as automatic, like I said, it will go into every single company and monitor them then for you. Now, with the company reports, I'll just use your company a second, unless anyone's got another company in mind that you want to have a little look at. So you've got unlimited access to both UK and Ireland, and the scores for both countries will be exactly the same. So they'll go from 1 to 100, and anything that's over 30 is what we would then say is the creditworthiness. And the closer you are to 100, the better. Now, initially with the international score, so because we do have access to international countries, that's the reason why we have both scores on there, because the scoring modules between the countries will change. But all you guys would just need to focus on really is just that one going from 1 to 100. And if anything is ever a high risk, these lines would be red. And at that point, we would not advise to give them a credit limit or a contract limit. Now, the credit limit is a recommendation of what the companies can comfortably afford at any one invoice at any one time. And then with the contract limit, that's that single invoice and it's split over a 12-month period. So what we're just saying with that one is if you do a contract with somebody for 12 months, it's just not to exceed that amount then over the time period. Status is active, so it just means the company is still trading. And then you've got the DBT and the industry DBT, which both stand for days beyond terms. And it's just the number of days on average that the invoice is overdue. Now, with this particular information, it is gathered from our customers, which are then suppliers of your company. But just be aware, because it's information gathered from our customers, it's not compulsory. So you will find, like it is on yours, that there's nothing to display. All right. If there was information, it would just be literally like that with a number in there. And this one's for the overall industry that you guys are involved in. Now, I've got slightly different access to what you guys have. So on your logins, it will just literally stop at the DBT for you. You guys do not have access to the compliance alert, so you would not be able to physically see that within your logins.
Okay, so just got a quick question here.
Yeah,
It
of
says,
course.
what should we do if the risk score is over 30, but the annual premium for their insurance is higher than the contract limit?
So Lucy, sorry, do you want to explain that a little bit off mute?
Yeah, you said that they shouldn't be invoiced for anything higher than the contract limit on there. So if
Yeah.
we're invoicing them for their insurance premium and their insurance premium is greater than the contract limit, is that a compliance issue?
That's down to the thing that you guys would have to make a decision with and whether you want to give them more or not.
Yeah, I think it'll be a discussion to have at the time, maybe, Lucy. Look at other risk factors on that comes off the credit report, but it's something we could discuss on a kind of a one-to-one basis, depending on
Okay,
what
because
what happened.
I'd assume Movo's insurance premium's more than 30 grand.
But yeah, we could certainly look at any that come up in the future for anybody. Yeah.
So we'd need to raise those on a case-by-case basis with you, Peter, before we
Just
offer insurance.
Yeah, just case by case. I'll probably say, email compliance as you would normally do for anything like for this instance, and we can get an answer pretty much straight away for you.
Thanks.
Okie doke. So with the summary page, so I won't go into too much detail with this tab because you guys will get the information going across anyway. But I want to just show you straight away that if the company has ever got any county court judgments, you'd be able to see by here in total how many that there is. And then further down, there's a commentary heading, which would show positive and negative impacts with the scores and the reports. So literally the green is good and the red is negative. And the dashes just mean they have a no impact at all. And then with the inquiry summary, this one just literally gives a monthly breakdown of how many times a Creditsafe customer has just checked out the report over the last 12 months. Now, this is not like a personal report of where the more times the is being checked out, it's going to affect anything. It doesn't have any impact with the credit limit or the credit score if it's been viewed 10 times or 1,000 times. All right. Just going to admit that, let the person in. The next tab that you guys will have access to, so you won't have access to the financial agreements, but you will see that within your logins. If you did try to click into it, it would just say that it's not available. But with the directors, so this one just shows you who the current directors are, the secretaries, and also the top shareholders. And with the directors, you are able to click into their name to be able to see potentially other companies that they are involved in, previous, and also dissolved. And we've also got this possible matches tool as well, of where potentially the director could be involved in multiple companies, but they might just not have linked themselves together at Companies House with their unique number. So where it's got the matching criteria as the last file address, what you can do is just remove that and put first name, last name, and then also filter it down to date of birth if you wanted. And it's just a case of clicking into those individuals' names just to be able to see whether you recognise any of those other companies. You've also as well got the persons with significant control, and then any previous directors or company secretaries. The financials would just show the last 5 years of accounts. Now, if the companies, if they don't turn over £10.2 million, then they do only have to file the abbreviated accounts. So like it is with your company, it might either be completely blank or very limited information. But in the balance sheets and the capital and reserves, you know, there will be things for you guys to have a little look at. And also as well, if you click into any of these little lines, it does just give you a description of what you've just clicked into. The threshold for any Irish companies with a turnover is, I think, a little bit lower, but it's still around about the 10 million mark, all right? Event history would just show when things have changed within the business. So the accounts that are being filed, any directors changes, if the company does ever change its name, and also the score and the limit history as well. All right, just to see whether they have improved or not. And you will find that these dates will exactly match, but the date would also potentially match with something up by here, just depending on whether anything happened to cause that score to change. Group structures just shows you if the company is involved in any other groups and countries. The NS is just the not scored, so that just could be potentially because they are no longer trading, the financial statements are too old, you know, things like that. So if you did want to have a little look into it, you are able to click into the company name. The negative information. So just be aware that on some logins that may say legal filings, but it'll give you the exact same information inside. It's just for some companies and some users, it is just worded slightly different. But with the county court judgments, now we can't tell you what they've been taken to court for, but we can give you the date, the amount, and also the case number. So if you did want to go to like either the registry's trust or even the courts yourself to try and get the information, then you are able to.
Just got one more question coming,
Yeah.
Kirsty. It says, if we click on the incorrect company or individual linked information, does this show on their credit record that we have searched it?
But no, so not from the actual company side of things. Obviously, it would just show by here on the main page the inquiry summary. That's all.
Okay.
All right, so it doesn't tell them who's been searching them either. It just shows just a number. Okay. And with the sort of individual side of things, I think it depends on what level of search that you guys are going to be doing. It might just say that it comes from Creditsafe more than anything else.
Okay.
But with the directors that I just showed it into this particular part, again, no, it won't show any kind of information that they've been searched for because it's linked in with the business report. Right. So going back to the negative information a second, the last one by here with the court notices is if they have, for example, been taken to the winding up petitions and things like that, you would just be able to get the information from here. Image documents are documents that we'll get directly from Companies House. So it is going to be more of the PDF version of, you know, the accounts that are being filed, again with directors changes and things like that. And if you did want to click into them, you are just able to click into that view and just get them, like I said, the PDF version of them. The payment analysis tab is linked in with the DBT at the top of the page. So you'll be able to see by here how many invoices have been shared. But just be aware that we do need to have more than 2 suppliers actively sharing data with us for us to even get the average to start with. All right. And you will find this particular page will just be more like, you know, full of graphs and things like that. If people were sharing data within the last 12 months. And this one would be a mixture of the days beyond terms trend to see if they have improved or not, and also if there was any county court judgments picked up within the last 12 months. And the bottom one then would compare the company against the rest of them. And the last tab, which is going to be the general information. So you guys won't be able to physically see the enterprise IDs. That's for more of a grading side of thing that we've taken over. But you will have access to the charges, which are usually more like the mortgages. So it will show if whether the mortgage is still outstanding or satisfied. You'll have the VAT details, which will also be on the main summary page. And then the trade debtors would just show if the company that you are looking at has actually lost any money from other companies going insolvent on them. And that would then give you the date, the amount, and also the company name. Right. And what you can do as well, guys, in the more actions part, is you are able to save the reports. And with the reports, it's up to you whether you want to have a personalised one. So you can decide of what information that you want to have saved. The full report, which would give you everything, or then the summarise, which would give you that main sort of heading at the top, and then the first summary page.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. I've just got another question. It
Yeah.
says, can you bounce back? Can you see bounce back loans on the charges?
I don't believe you can, no.
Okay.
But yeah, any other questions with the report a second, guys?
I'd just like to add there that whenever we're doing it for Movo, when you are downloading any reports, to always make sure you select the full report, because that will what is needed for our compliance kind of green tick on your file audits. So it's the full report that we need to see.
It should initially, when you click into it, it should as a default already fall into the full report option. If it
Okay.
doesn't, guys, you can click that little option, but then it should, whenever you click into that, just go straight into that full report, all right?
Lovely. Thanks, Kirsty.
Okie doke. So with the monitored side of things, so like I said, if you do set it as the automatic, guys, that green button will constantly be there for you. And when you're in the actual monitoring tab, which was on the left-hand side initially earlier, the home page, so that will just show you within the last month what companies have changed and also a little description. And the email alerts that you guys will receive will be very similar to that. So it won't tell you what the score is old and new. It will just literally say a score change.
I was going to ask, sorry for cutting you off there.
That's okay.
With the monitoring, if someone was to set that up on their own kind of email, on their own account, is there a way that they can then share the monitoring with somebody else, or does it only come to that one person who's set up the monitoring for the company? So if there's several people working in one AR brokerage, could that notification go out to several people, or just that one person who's arranged it?
Yeah, no, so it can go to several. That's absolutely fine. I'll show you guys how you're able to set that up in a moment.
Thank you.
And just be aware as well that even though it'll show the last month from this area, if you did need to customize the dates and go back further, you have got the option. But in the portfolios part, so this is where you initially see that the list of the companies that you're monitoring within your logins. And if you did want to add in like any other email addresses and things like that, so the alerts can go to more than one person, you have got the option to edit and then add in the email addresses then from you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Right. Peter, with this particular part as well, so this is just going to get the users just to receive the emails. Do they potentially may need to see the list as well of like other users monitored, like sort of, the portfolios?
Yeah, potentially. Yes.
Yeah. What I would suggest then, guys, so when you're in this edit portfolio part still, is where it's got the portfolio name, that initially will say default for everyone. So I would just recommend to put your own name in there, and whether you just leave it as your own name or you put your own name and something else afterwards. But I would say that your main name is just the most important. Still add in the email addresses. All right, so once you've changed that over and hit the confirm, you'll then notice this little share button. And the share button will then bring back the user details of all of the people that have obviously got access from your side. If people have left, unfortunately, guys, you will still see their names by year, because even though the access would have been removed for them, we're not able to physically to remove them from this area. All right, so you will still see their names, unfortunately. But the view just means I'm actually now giving my colleague Sarah the ability to view the ones that I'm monitoring. Add also means she can add companies from her monitoring into my list. Edit will be that edit portfolio, so she can also then just add in her email address. And then the remove just means she can then also delete some companies from my monitoring. Now this just kind of works one way. All right, so this is just giving her the access to this for mine. If I needed the access for hers, she would then need to do the same. Right. And once they've hit the confirm and then people have shared amongst each other, in the drop down on the right hand side, the ones with the share buttons next to them just means it is then somebody else's portfolio. And like I said, the reason why I did say to put your own name in there for that edit portfolio part is because if it does say default, 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 it is going to get confusing of whose portfolio is who. All right. But this is my colleague Rebecca's. I can see the ones that she's now monitoring. I have got the access to delete them if I needed to. And like I said, the edit portfolio, I can't change over the name, but I can change over the email addresses. And I'll go through notification rules with you in a second, but I've also got the ability to change things over within her notifications as well. If you guys needed to set up like additional portfolios within your logins, you have got the option in the add new portfolio. So again, just give it a name, an email subject line, and again with the email addresses, either just have one or multiple. Once you confirm those, again, they just fall in this drop down. And again, you can do the same process of sharing that portfolio as well if needs be. And any that you do highlight, you've got the option to either delete them at the bottom of the page, or you can just move them across then to another one. And once you hit the confirm, they will just move across. All right, if you hit the copy, they will stay in both. But as you can see now, I've just moved the two across into my colleague Rebecca's, so they're now all in that one same area. Do you guys potentially need to do like an upload, do you think, Peter, of companies into the monitoring, so like a bulk upload?
I wouldn't have thought so, although we might do it ourselves to initially. So it could be worth just quickly seeing that if that's all right.
Yeah, of course. So any sort of uploads with the monitoring, you are going to need to send us a list first for us to append relevant data. So we need to append what's called our safe number, which is literally just our unique number. And what we just require from you guys to start with, it will just be an Excel spreadsheet with company names, company addresses and postcodes. It needs to have the 2-letter country code. And then you can also add in any references if you wanted to as well. So potentially an account number or something like that for that company. And then what we do is we'll send it to the data department. They append that relevant data. And then if you don't have any references, guys, you can do import from file, manual import, and just copy and paste the safe numbers into that box. If there is going to be any sort of references within there, I would just recommend to send it to myself and just say there's references within there. Can you please put it into the correct format? And what we'll do is we'll put it in the correct format, and then there's just that choose file then. And like I said, obviously the reference would then be included for you. Right. And you can do that as well. If you do set up multiple portfolios, you can upload into each one as well. You're not just restricted to one. The next part then with the notification rules. So this just gives you the option to decide of what information that you want to receive the email alerts on. So you are able to untick certain things if you don't want to get notified. And the rules can be different for each portfolio. They haven't got to be the same. And where you've got then the scores and the credit limits, you can basically set yourself like a number within those boxes to get notified then beyond that threshold. So if I put in 50 at the moment, at the moment within that score, any of the companies that I'm now monitoring, if they've got scores higher than 50, I'm not going to receive an email about a score change unless they drop below. And the same with the credit limit, that's actually set in the thousands, so that's £10,000. So again, I'm not going to receive an email unless the limit drops below £10,000. All right, and you can come back in and change them at any time as well. That's not a problem. And if you guys do have any Irish companies within there as well, you can change over the sort of rules for those. But there's no option by here for kind of like a score change, but you'll have to give you that international score, which will be this one going from A to E. Right, and you can set the bands and everything from there as well. The exports will just basically give the option to export the companies that you're monitoring into an Excel. And anything that is ticked by you will also be exported. So again, you can untick certain things. And you can put in multiple email addresses if you want to, just got to be separated by a comma. And then you can also set it as scheduled if you would rather have like a weekly or monthly report coming through. The next part then, which is going to be the analysis, just literally breaks down the companies into the different risk factors. So it just shows you how many fall in potentially into the high risk or the low risk. You can keep this separate for each portfolio, but you can also view them as an overall as well if it's easier. And the same with the portfolios as well, guys. You have got the option to view all the portfolios at once. Any questions?
No, that was really handy. Thank you, Kirsty.
That's no problem. To get off the monitoring, guys, you can just literally click that Creditsafe logo, or you are able to close the tab down as whatever's easiest for you. Okay, is there anything else with the company side of things that you need me to go through now, Peter? Like anything to do with the debt collection, debt letters, anything like that, or marketing prospects?
No, that's fine. Would you be able just to quickly show if you were searching for a company, whether like on the list where you've got the limited and non-limited businesses, just to show how that would look when they're looking for a company?
Yeah, of course. So when you're in this particular part, guys, and you just want to search for one, if I just use Creditsafe for a second and multiple options appear, literally all you can do is just click that little button, which is the search, or hit the enter button on your keyboard, and it gives you the option then for limited and then non-limited at the bottom.
That's great, thank you. Does this system also allow check for charities and CIC? Was a question just come in there, Kirsty.
Yes, so certain charities will be on here. It's just not going to be the case, not all of them, unfortunately, but they will have some information on there if it's available. If not, what you can do is you can email into the support department at that point, just to see if they can build a report for you going forward.
That's great. We've got another question as well. Do we need to select monitoring for compliance purposes in all cases, or just do the check at new business renewal stage? That's absolutely fine, Linda. You can just do it at renewal and new business. You don't have to build monitoring for the compliance aspect, so it's fine just to do it as well. One more question. Sorry, are these UK dom business only?
And you have got access to Irish companies as well. It's just a case of flicking over the country.
And one more, we've got PI update reg, the individual check-in. I don't know what you mean there, Pabudu. If you can take yourself off mute, I'm not sure what your question is.
Yeah, please update us regarding the individual checking, the personal checking, not only the company. When you check someone's name, sometimes it's confusing with Creditsafe.
So an individual, yeah, we're going to come to individual check-in in just a few moments when we do consumer. So Kirsty will talk us through that in just a moment.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for that. And one more question. It says, I think that goes back to are these DOM, UK DOM? How about British Virgin Isles, etc.?
No, so you've only got, you guys within the package have only got access to UK and Ireland.
That's great. Thanks for confirming, Kirsty.
Okie doke. So with the ones that are, oh, actually, I do apologise. I was not looking at the other thing. You've got access to 6 international reports within the package.
Yeah,
Which
that's separate. That's someone's requested. Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
fine. No, initially, then everyone else will have access just to UK and Ireland.
That's great. Thank you.
Okie doke. So for the sort of individual side of things, then. So I'll go through the sort of anti-money laundering with you first, which is basically verifying that person is who they say they are, and it'll cover the sanctions and the politically exposed person checks as well. And you can access that for the left-hand side under the compliance and then AML check. And what you would then require from the individuals at this point is a full name, surname, date of birth. I'm just going to put a random one here a second. And then with the address, it's always better to pop in the postcode, guys, because what that will then do is it gives you the option to select the address in that drop down and it'll put everything in the correct format for you. If they have got a middle name and they provide that to you, you can pop it in. If they haven't and they don't provide it to you or anything like that, you can just leave it blank. Gender, if they do identify as a male or female, you can click the box, but if not, you can leave it blank. That's absolutely fine. And the title, those are like the Mr. and Mrs. And the suffix is like, you know, the doctor, sir, lady, things like that. What I would then suggest at this point, so whenever you do an anti-money laundering check, is to always double check the information that you've got in by here to make sure that it's all correct. You guys will only have access to the single bureau part anyway, so that will be selected for you. The references, you can put a reference in there if you like. If you do forget, don't panic because you've got the option to add them in at a later stage anyway. And as soon as you then hit that validate, what it will then do is it'll take you into the next page. We are initially then hoping for a result that comes back as a pass straight away. Now, if they do come back as a pass, unless you still want to, you don't necessarily then have to add in any more documents. All right, you can then just, for example, click at the top of the page, more actions, and then save. All right. If you still want to add in then additional documents, you've got the options by here for the follow-up actions. So the driving license will be the driving license number, postcode, and then also an issue date. It'll be the passport, which is the MRZ number. Now that's the machine readable zone number, and that's the very, very bottom line on the passport, guys. All right, so it will have those little chevrons that also need to be included within there. And then also you've got the European ID card. Now the MPAN number is going, so I think it's completely gone now. So you guys shouldn't be able to see that on your logins anyway. It will just be the 3. Right. Now, like I said, if you want to add in any other documents, you can do and then hit the revalidate. If you want to add in more than one, you do need to add them in at the same time. All right. And the reason being is because you can only hit that revalidation button once. Now, you've got further down then from here with the credit headers, the electoral rolls, you know, with the colours that you can see. The green is a match, amber is a no match, the grey is non-applicable. And if you ever do find there's an alert up by here, further down you will just be able to see those as well. Mine's a demonstration one, guys, and this is what I pulled from previously, a good back about a year or 2 ago when we was having some issues with the system. So don't panic. The fact that you can see a sanctions on mine at the moment is just an error from previously. But you probably will find that sometimes people may come back as a PEP. Let me just go back a moment to see if I can find a different one, which might be a bit easier. Which I think, no, it's not that one. Bear with me. There we go. So you'll find that they'll come through as a PEP more than likely. And when you scroll down, you'll be able to see then who they've potentially matched against. All right, so give you the details, give a date of birth, you've got the address by year, and basically I just match against the politician Kirsty Williams because we've got the same name. All right, unfortunately you won't be able to remove the information or anything like that because it's a potential match. Okay, so this one is a result back as a pass. Now you will also get another result, which will be an alert or potentially just a refer. The alert will appear more if, for an example, that somebody does match against either the mortality checks of where they're potentially trying to use a deceased person's record, or if they do come back as something to do with the sanctions of where they are on the sanctions list. All right. If they do come back at either of those, it's up to you then to make a decision of how and what you guys would do then going forward. But all of the checks that you do, guys, like I said, you have got the option to save them. But if you do forget, don't panic, because when you're back on the main part of the AML checks, at the bottom, there's a history. Click into AML so it turns blue. And as soon as you then hit the search, it'll bring back all the results that you've done within your logins. All right, so it won't bring back everyone's, it'll just do what you've then done. And you can filter the results as well.
We have got a question in, which I think we haven't come to yet anyway, but I'll ask it. It says, the last Creditsafe system also showed linked addresses for personal. Does this still show?
That's part of the consumers that we haven't gone through yet.
Yeah, I thought that was coming up soon. Yeah, thank you.
That's all right. But yes, so I'm just going to get in a different alert a moment for you, which will be as the refers. If I go into this one. So with the refers, now it doesn't necessarily mean that the person has failed the anti-money laundering check. What it just means, guys, is it does require then some documents to bunk it over back over to a pass. Okay. So with the documents, double check this because sometimes it may ask you for one and other times it may ask you for two. And if it does ask you for the two, then you do need to add two in at the same time. Right, so click into one, click into the other, and then you validate it after both has been submitted. All right, and as long as everything is all correct with these and everything's all correct by here, that refer then will change over to a pass for you. All right. If you unfortunately do make a mistake and it does ask you for two documents, but you do revalidate it after the one, then it would look exactly like this. And that option then will just be grayed out. So you're not able to click back into it to revalidate it because you can only click it once. And also, guys, you've got a 90-day window, so 90 of where you're able to go back into the checks to add the documents in at a later stage. Right. But any other questions with the anti-money laundering check? Because that's literally it, to be honest. Yeah, I'm going to guess that everything's all okay. This primarily as well, guys, is just for UK clients. Obviously, if, for example, you may need to do like some international checks, just be aware that they'll never have the pass result. It will always come back as a refer because we can't verify it against their addresses. All right. And the only thing that you would be able to upload in that point is just going to be their passport and validate it from there. But it's still going to say the refer. And it's up to you then, obviously, to make a decision whether you still want to go ahead and do business with them because you understand the situation. They're just never going to get that pass from the system. Right. Okie doke. So that is
question. Sorry, Kirsty. What should be the minimum residence period in the UK to find them in Creditsafe?
I think it kind of varies, to be honest. I've been living at my address now for 2 years. I still come back as a refer because I'm not like on the electoral roll and things like that. So it can just vary, to be honest. But obviously, like I said, if you've got the documents of where you've got the driver license and passport, if it does ask you for two or just the one, As long as everything's all correct with the information from here, it will change over from a refer to a pass anyway.
Smashing.
And the other one that you have got then with the sort of individual checks is going to be the consumers. And you'll be able to find that under the credit and risk heading, and it'll be then the consumer search from here. So the same as before, the information that you require is just going to be exactly the same as the AML. So name, date of birth, the address. Again, with the middle names, if they've got them, pop it in, genders, things like that. So all of the information the same. The number of addresses, so the default will be set as 2, but you can go back higher if required. And then with the reasons for searches, whatever you guys have then chosen from your side will appear in here. Okay, so you can only do one at a time. And the ones that I've got within here, guys, these are softer searches. All right. The other options, if I quickly just show you, which is going to be a business, a credit checking one, and a debt collection. Those ones just leave a harder footprint on the individual's reports. Okay. So once you've popped all the information in, I do apologize, we're going to have to quickly do that again. Oh. So once it's all been popped in, like I said, just select your reasons. Or if it's come up with that, you just need to click into that settings part I was in a moment ago, and just select the reason then from there. All right, so if you click into that settings area, you'll just be able to select what has been chosen from you guys, and then just literally hit that save. And what that will then do then, once you hit the save, is just take you back into the consumers, and again, obviously just pop in the information. It should initially, guys, if it doesn't do it for all of you, then obviously, because once one person's done the reasons for search, it should initially go with all of everyone for their logins. But if it doesn't, as I just showed you, just go into those settings part, all right? And then after you've done it the once, it'll be there then forever with these ones from the drop down. The third party opt-in from here, so that just scans a little bit more data coverage, but just be aware that if you do click into it, it would utilise another credit. And I think it just depends on what reasons for search that you do from here, what information is pulled through. So I'm not 100% sure exactly what is returned back, because like I said, I think it just depends on what reason. Right. Again, with this part, you can put a reference in if you want. And the same process is double check all of the information before hitting the validate. And as soon as you then hit the validate, it will take you into the consumer report, of where it gives you the name, their address, their date of birth. You've got the scoring band as well, which is powered by TransUnion. And when you click into the more information part, it just gives you then the scoring option as a breakdown. You've got the summary part from here, which is going to give you a brief overview of each of these tabs. So you can see by here if they potentially have got any county court judgments and things like that. And as soon as you click into them, you'll be able to see like any previous addresses, any links if they've got like any aliases, if they have got any insolvencies or bankruptcies. And it does state by here as well that obviously the end and start date. And with this county court judgments, same as what it is like on a business one, it will give you the case number and also then tells you if they are outstanding or not and the amount. With the history, it depends on whether you guys are going to have the credit checking option for the reasons for search. If you haven't got the credit checking one, you wouldn't be able to see that option, right? Because this would be for the harder footprint. The notices of correction. This particular part just gives the client then the option to add in a 250 sort of word paragraph. As you can see, it says Sarah Hawkins is a test record and not identify as a real person. Obviously, don't lend them money. They can just obviously put whatever they want in if they had like a county court judgment issued to them on accident or something like that. And then the demographic is like an employment description, a shareholder, property description, things like that. And the only thing that I would say with the consumer, guys, is that if you do need to have a copy of them, so again, you've got the option to save them as a PDF at the top, is if you need to have the full report, again, just make sure you do that. But unfortunately, if you don't save them before coming out of it, you're not able to get back into them unless you obviously do another check on them. All right, so just make sure you do save the report first before coming out of it, guys. Right. And that's literally it then with the consumer sides. Any questions at all? Yeah, Peter, is that all okay? Is anything else that you guys need to focus on?
No, that's brilliant. No, you've shown everything that the guys would need to be able to navigate around the system, to be able to run checks both on kind of commercial and on consumer. So that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Kirsty. That's really helpful.
Oh, you're most welcome. If you guys do have any questions at any point, you know, you're always welcome to come back to us at a later stage and not just restricted anyway to just the one session. Obviously, I know I'm going to send the recording across as soon as I have it back from the IT department. So, Peter, I'll send that to you when I have it.
Thank you.
You do have the little help button on the right-hand side as well. So, depending on where you're at the website, depends on what tabs are available at the moment. But you are able to search things in the help button. Obviously, you've got then, for example, with the monitoring, if you put something in there, it'll just guide you then with a step-by-step guide just to have a little look at that monitoring function. All right. Hugo, like I said, obviously, I think it's just the fact of with the reasons for the search, they might just not have allocated to everybody. When one person's done it, it just might not have just linked in with all of the users. But just go straight into that history part and just select what reasons for search that you require. Right.
Any other questions, guys? If you are asking a question and you're on mute, please take yourself off mute, because that does happen. But if not, just thank you again, Kirsty, for your time. It's been really helpful, and we'll put this up on Mobile Buddy, our intranet, once that comes over, so you can watch it as many times as you wish. But thank you, that's been really helpful.
Oh, you're most welcome, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time, everybody. I hope you all have a lovely rest of the day. And like I said, any problems, any questions, just give us a shout, and I'll get the recording across as soon as I have it back from the IT department.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
you.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thank